I always like to say that Detroit has so many hidden gems. And what I mean by that is when people see the word or hear the word Detroit, they always kind of have this negative feeling about it. But I have to tell you, Detroit has some wonderful things that people overlook. An example of that could be the Father Solanus Casey Center. And that's a church plus a museum that focuses on the life of Father Solanus Casey. Father Solanus Casey is blessed, which means he soon will become a saint. People always love going there, and every time I have somebody come visit, I take them there to see it, and they're so impressed with his life. So I'd like to tell you just a little bit about who he was. He passed away back in the 1950s here in the Detroit area, but while he was alive, people would line up to come see him. And they did that because they knew that his prayers tend to always be answered by God. If they lost their job, they would come ask him to pray for them to find a job, and they would find one. If someone was quite ill, they would come and ask him to please pray for them, so he would, and they would be healed. Or if there was a family in turmoil, they would come and ask him to pray for the family to find peace. And he would pray for them, and they would find that peace. People would call him the miracle worker. Now, of course, Father Solanus Casey disagreed with that title and didn't like that and said, I'm not the one performing the miracles. It is God who performs the miracles. And all we have to do is ask, and he will answer. He never understood why people found that hard, because for him it was easy. He would pray, and his prayers would be answered. And this story really fits with today's gospel, where Jesus says we must pray with faith. And that means that when we pray, we have to believe and know that God is going to answer our prayers. That's the key. And I know that it seems that sometimes when we pray, or many of us pray, we don't see an answer. So let me share some thoughts about that with you. I think the first thing is, well, Father Solanus Casey, his prayers were answered the way they were, but that's very rare. In my experience, when we pray, we may not see an answer. And so I'll forget about it when I do it. And then after a while, I notice that, oh, God did answer my prayer. And I realize that it always takes a little bit of time, sometimes even years, before our prayers are answered. Yes, God answers them, but not often in the way that meets our expectations in terms of time. It doesn't happen right away. And the second thing is, sometimes God doesn't answer our prayers. And I think the reason why is that he feels it's not a good idea at the time and that it won't help us. Let me give you an example. If we have people that pray, oh, Lord, I want to be rich, I want to be comfortable. And God might look at that and say, no, that's not a good idea, because people who are rich depend less on God. If you take a look around and see poor people, they tend to have a much stronger faith because they rely on God and have a deep relationship with him. And the third thing is that Father Solanus Casey gives us some good advice. He always says that when we pray and ask God for something, that we should immediately thank him for answering our prayers, because that proves that we have the faith that he will answer them. So Father Solanus Casey says that's the key, and that's the answer. So we need to try that and thank God for answering our prayers. Thank you, and God bless you.